Hello everybody, my name is Magdalena and you're listening to Home and Heart Methods. Today we are starting a series of podcasts about manipulative marketing techniques. We'll take one technique, we'll explain how it works and why it works, and then we'll present some ideas as to how we can defend ourselves against it. So, Home and Heart Methods is a podcast devoted to the topic of sensitivity, right? We are talking about being sensitive, about being gentle, about regaining ownership over our own time, because we practically gave away all our time. We don't own even 10 minutes from the 24 hours we have. It's a podcast where we look for and present methods how we can survive and thrive in the world that wasn't really built for sensitive people. So it's a podcast about beautiful things. So maybe you are thinking right now, okay, so why are we talking about something so uncomfortable as manipulative marketing techniques? Well, for the same reason, actually. We need to describe these things. We need to talk about things that aren't pure so that we can defend ourselves, we can protect ourselves against them. The goal isn't to judge anybody. The goal isn't to get angry or get resentful. In this podcast, the goal is never to feel any type of negative emotion. We don't want that because it's like drinking poison. The goal is to regain control over our money and, in the essence, save money, spend less, be more aware of what we are actually buying and what we are actually paying, how much we are actually paying, and as a consequence, regain control over our time, because if we save money, it turns out that we have more and maybe we can work a bit less. I recommend this podcast to anybody who is interested in learning a bit about how these marketing techniques work. I believe it's very important. To be honest, personally, I would love to introduce a school subject about this so that young people can learn from the start how they are influenced and manipulated every single day. So the goal is to save money, to have more money, and to regain control over our time, and also to regain control over how we see the world. My name is Magdalena, I'm a psychologist, but please take this whole podcast as a set of my personal opinions and personal conclusions. We are starting today with a technique that is one of the easiest techniques in the world. And I wouldn't go that far as to say that it is used all around the world, but I'm pretty sure it is used in the majority of countries around the globe. It is very simple, it is extremely effective, and our brain has practically no way of defending itself against it. We are talking about the prices ending with 0.99. On the surface, it may sound like something a bit silly and not important enough, not big enough to devote the whole podcast to, because we are basically talking about this 1 cent, right? Instead of seeing the price $20 or €20, we see the price $19.99. So what's the harm, right? What's the big deal? Why is it such a horrible, disgusting, for me personally, manipulative marketing mechanism, and why we cannot truly defend ourselves against it? You may notice that I have very strong feelings about unethical marketing techniques. I mean, unethical from my personal point of view. For the sake of this podcast, let's define first what is manipulation. I understand manipulation as any form of influence that another person is not aware of. Because if I go to the movie about dinosaurs, then I agree to be influenced. I agree to believe that dinosaurs are real. I will gladly even leave the movie, leave the cinema, and I will gladly keep believing it for a while just to feel good, because I understand that the whole movie is just a movie. The whole movie is a lie. So I agree to be lied to. I agree for this type of influence, right? But when somebody does something purposefully to influence my behavior, in the case of marketing, of course, to push me closer to buying a product, and I am not aware of this mechanism, that is my definition of manipulation. Another thing we need to consider before explaining details about prices ending at 99 is what is actually our brain. As we mentioned earlier in the podcast, the brain didn't evolve as a tool of learning the truth. The brain evolved as a tool for survival. Its main primary also function was and still is to keep us alive and keep us well-fed and keep us safe long enough so that we can grow up and give birth to children, to the next generation. The brain isn't really, on its most basic level, interested in learning the truth, because the truth requires burning calories. The truth, according to the brain, doesn't have that much to do with survival. Survival is about conserving energy, spending it only on basic tasks needed for survival. And the brain doesn't really like spending energy on anything else. We will come back to it and we will explain why it is so important. To begin, I would like to tell you two stories that happened to me in my own lifetime. One happened when I was a student, so that was almost 20 years ago. I was studying psychology, and our professor gave us a task to do. He said, go to a person you don't know and ask her to help you with an experiment. Ask her to estimate, more or less, how much is it 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9. Give them 10-20 seconds, but don't give them enough time so that they can actually do the calculations in their heads. Just ask them to estimate what do they think, more or less. Okay? And go to 10 people individually and ask them this question. Then go to another group of 10 people, visit them individually, and ask them to estimate how much is it 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 and times 1. And again, don't give them too much time. Just ask them to give the estimation, the best guess. And at that time, I lived in the student's house, which was perfect for psychology students because psychology students in Poland, they did a lot of experiments, a lot of tasks like that. So it was perfect living in the student's house because all you had to do was leave your room, knock on the door in the next room, and there you had perfect objects for your experiment. So we used to laugh that actually the population of psychology students in Poland is the best examined population in the whole the country because so many experiments psychology students do on each other, which is very funny. So I did that. I conducted this experiment and the results surprised me actually. It turned out that the first group's estimations were much lower than the second group estimations. So yeah, the task was actually the same, is just to calculate what is the result of this mathematical equation, right? 1 times 1 times 2 and so on, so on. First starting with number 1, then starting with number 9. So the final result of this calculation was of course exactly the same in both cases. But it turns out that people who start estimating more or less from number 1 give much lower estimations than people who start from number 9. It was confirmed also in my little experiment. So when we came back to the next lecture with the same professor and he asked us about our experiences, he asked us, "Oh, how was it? How did it go?" Well, we were all a bit shocked and surprised that it actually, people who start with lower numbers give estimation much lower than people who start with high numbers. And he explained to us that this is the so-called anchoring effect. The brain anchors itself at the beginning of the calculation, and it uses this anchor as your mental reference point. So at the beginning, it will try, right, to calculate, okay, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 4 is 24, and so on, so on, so on. So at the beginning, it will start calculating, but then the brain will decide that, oh, no, we don't need that for survival. It's burning so many calories. We don't actually need to finish that calculation. We can just try to guess, and we will try to guess taking as a reference point the beginning of our calculations. So we will anchor ourselves there, and then we will just take our best guess as to what comes next. Because this way, we will finish the task faster, we will burn fewer calories, we will conserve energy, we will conserve time. And this is exactly how our brain functions. This is what the brain will always try to do. To choose speed over accuracy, to choose the method that will help us conserve calories, because what if some danger suddenly occurs and we will need those calories, right? The brain needs to keep us safe from hunger. So the brain will anchor itself at the beginning, and then it will just try to guess the rest, because it's not really, on its basic level, the tool for learning the truth. That's not what brain wants. The brain wants to keep us alive. For people who started calculating at 9, right, they start with, oh my, that's such a big number, right? 9 times 8, and then times 7. And then the brain just doesn't want to even try to calculate anymore, and it will guess that, again, because the anchor is so high, it will guess a number that is much higher than the number which it tried to guess previously. So another effect that is connected to anchoring effect is effect that was described in literature much later, and it's called the left digit effect. I don't know, I'm just guessing here, but I would venture a guess that it was described in literature after this explosion of prices ending in 99 and the astounding success these prices always have. And the left digit effect refers to the brain's tendency to read numbers just like it reads words from left to right. And the first digit, the first number, is the most important one. If we see 199.99, the brain reads the number from the left to the right. And the brain sees 100, and okay, so that's the most important digit. It will sure read the rest, why not? But it will not give it as much attention. And of course, it will try to read it fast because it's trying to conserve time, conserve energy. So for the brain, this price will be 100, closer to 100 than to 200. The brain will always interpret this price as closer to 100 than to 200. It will think, okay, it's 100 and something. But in the brain's, let's say, in the brain's head, in the brain's eye, the price is 100. Because the first digit, that's the important one. And the truth, it isn't that important for the brain. The important fact is to do the shopping fast and just leave the shop and go home. So why are the prices ending with 99 so unethical from my perspective? For me personally, they are very disgusting. I dislike them, let's say. I dislike them strongly because it's one of the marketing mechanisms that uses natural functioning of our brain. It takes a function of our brain that was developed to help us, and it uses this function against us. So this primary function of taking speed over accuracy, of ignoring the second and third digit, of anchoring at the beginning of calculation and just taking the best guess. These are mechanisms that were working well for us for as long as nobody was trying to manipulate us. Because they were more or less in a, let's say, normal world, they were helpful, they were effective, and they were actually helping us save time. They were helping us estimate more or less, if we talk about unimportant stuff, right? We could just start at the beginning, estimate more or less the situation, and we didn't have to spend so much time, burn so much energy evaluating every detail because it wasn't important. So this mechanism was actually created and it evolved in our brain to help us, and it was very helpful until the moment when somebody understood it and decided, okay, so then we will take it and use it against a person, against a client. I'm saying against because we cannot physically defend ourselves against it. The brain will always see lower number. The brain will always anchor itself at the beginning. If we see the price 299.99, the brain will always tell us that it's 200 and something, but definitely closer to 200 than 300. Okay? We cannot jump over this mechanism because it's the natural, basic functioning of our brain, and it was built to help us. And that's why for me this mechanism is so unethical and so horrible, because it takes something that was created to help us and it uses it against us. And what is more, we buy something, right? We take 5 things in a shop, we go to the checkout and we are shocked that the price is so high and we feel guilty. Why didn't I see that? Why didn't I check the prices more carefully? I'm so stupid, I'm so guilty, it's my fault. But it's not, because this function of the brain we cannot change, because it was built to help us. I'm also talking about this mechanism because not so long ago I was helping a friend estimate the prices for some of the products she wanted to sell. So I gave her my honest opinion how much I think I would pay for this product. And let's say we decided that, okay, you can sell that for, let's say 60 euro, for example, right? And a third friend was standing next to us and she said, but right, 59.99, let's use this bit of psychological effect. And whenever I'm in this type of, because it wasn't the first time it happened to me. A few years ago, I remember I was working at the language school and I was helping with creating an offer for the next school year, an offer of language courses. And I remember that one guy told me that, yeah, just remember it's not 1,400, but 1,399 because let's use a bit of psychology, here. People will think it's less. So it made me realize something that I should have already known, that people who choose such prices, they know that they are manipulative prices. They know that they are using, as they say, a bit of psychology. But in reality, they are just using a bit of manipulation, right? And this is what I mean by manipulation, that they are influencing us in a way we are not aware of, in a way that they actually use our natural brain mechanisms and the fact that the brain doesn't really see objective reality, and they use it against us. So we cannot stay this unperfect. Because if we stay unperfect as we are, because we all are imperfect, then everything that is not perfect inside us will be used against us. And it will help build a world that is even more difficult. That's why in all these situations, when people around me tell me that, right, okay, let's write the price 4.99 because it will look like less, it makes me feel actually pain inside my stomach, and it makes me feel this heaviness inside my body, because I know that at this moment they are actually helping build a world that is more difficult for everyone. They are actually helping create the world that is even more chaotic. There are more misunderstandings, and it's even more difficult to find our way, and we feel even more guilty because we blame ourselves that we didn't see that it's actually 20 euro, not 19 euro. That's why I decided to record a podcast about this mechanism. When we talk about prices ending with 99, it's worth mentioning that there are more reasons as to why these prices are so effective. One of them is that it became a marketing standard. It looks more professional. I remember a lot of discussions on the online group devoted to writing books and publishing books, where people said that, I will end the price with 99 because it looks more professional. Because, actually it became kind of a market standard. When we see such prices, we feel comfortable, we feel cozy, we feel normal. When we see the prices that end with 00, our brain is suddenly thrown out of its routine. And the brain likes routines. The brain loves everything that is predictable because that means it's safe. So the brain likes the prices ending with 99 because it feels safer. It feels okay, there's no danger here because we've been living in this world of 99 prices for so many years and nothing killed us. Okay, we lost a lot of money because every time we go to the checkout, we are shocked that the price is so high. We didn't see that when we were taking the products, but nothing killed us, right? So the brain doesn't like being thrown out of the routine. The brain loves routines and predictability. That's why I also heard from a friend that she just sets prices like that so that the client feels comfortable. It is also mentioned in some texts about this phenomena that when we see the price that ends with some, details like 1783, 1789, somehow we believe that it means that the price was carefully calculated. If we see 20.00, we think that, okay, somebody rounded it up. Yeah, somebody set up higher price and somebody rounded it up to a higher number. Although if somebody sets a price that ends with 00, we should actually be very grateful because this is the person that helps us. This is the person that helps us see the world that is closer to objective reality. Although, of course, our brain will never let us see actually the fully objective reality. So the brain loves the prices ending with 99 because they are comfortable, they are known, they are standard now, I think, all around the world. The cognitive effort the brain needs to make is reduced. The time that it takes to analyze the price, it's shorter. So the brain will just tell us, okay, it's just 19 euro. It's not 20, it's 19. And the brain will be satisfied. So what can we actually do to defend ourselves? Because as I mentioned at the beginning, the goal of this podcast isn't to bring up anger or frustration or any type of negative emotion. My goal is to help actually people find peace and regain control over their time and regain ownership over their money, save money, have more, spend less. And that's why we are talking about marketing techniques, which from my personal perspective are unethical and manipulative. The prices ending at 99 are the first and most prominent example of these. So how can we defend ourselves against them? Because it won't help us to feel angry at the sellers or the producers. What can we realistically do? Well, the first thing that I started to do a few years ago is actually very simple, but it's connected with paying in cash. Because if you pay in cash and you need to pay 19.99, you give 20 euros, very often the seller expects you to just not to wait for any change. Right? Nowadays, the seller very often will not even bother with explanation. He will just take your money and just say thank you, goodbye. In Norway, where I live, the prices are automatically rounded up or rounded down, depending on if the last digit is lower than 5 or higher than 5. But let's be honest, it's usually 9, right? It's usually higher than 5. So if you pay in cash, the prices are automatically rounded up to the higher number. But a few years ago, when I lived in Poland, of course, it wasn't that way. So every time when I paid, for example, 20 Polish zlotych, when something cost 19.99, and I gave 20 zlotych, and the seller said, okay, so let's say without the cent, okay? the cent, right? Like a Polish one, grosz. So this one smallest coin, the seller should give me back this one little cent. And if I saw that the majority of prices or all of the prices in the shop were actually ended at 99, I said, I apologize, but if I see that the seller uses this mechanism and ends the prices at 99, then I want my 1 cent back. It's not about this one stupid cent. It's about a feeling of any sort of dignity from my part. But also it was my way of showing the sellers that I noticed that. And it's not okay. It's a very unethical mechanism. And I remember one time when I was buying some sausage on some local market, as a lady who was selling me the sausage, she got very angry with me. She couldn't believe that I would ask her to give this 1 cent back because she didn't have it. She didn't have it. And I said, okay, thank you. So please take the sausage back, give me back my 20 zlotych, and I will go somewhere else. Because if you set prices for 99, I apologize, but I don't agree with not getting this 1 cent back. And she couldn't believe it. How dare I make such a drama and make such a fuss over this 1 cent? It's nothing. It's not even worth anything. It's not even money. So finally, she reached out for her own private purse because she didn't have this 1 cent in the cash register. So she took out her own private purse. She took this 1 Polish grosz, so let's say it's like 1 cent, and she gave it to me with an air of doing me incredible favor and of being personally deeply hurt. She said, you see, I will even give you my 1 grosz, 1 cent. And I was looking at her. So if it's my 1 cent, it's not worth anything. But if it's your 1 cent, then suddenly it's a huge sacrifice to give it to me. How is it possible? So I'm just telling you the story to show that people respect their own money much more than respect our money. It's a sad truth not about all the sellers, of course, but about some of them. So it's good to remember that if the price is ended with 99, most probably, I'm not saying that for sure, because maybe there are cases when somebody honestly believes that the product's worth is 19.99. But I would venture a guess, and I would say that more often than not, it wasn't any careful calculation. And it wasn't done to give us realistic price. And it wasn't done out of respect for our money. It was done to use this psychological effect against us. So it's worth remembering that when we go to the shop and we see that all the prices end with 99, it's good to remember that, okay, it's done on purpose. It's done to use this psychological effect on us. So it's not really to our benefit. It's not to help us. And it's not liking a client, and it's not respecting a client. That's my personal opinion. So I apologize for asking you to feel negative emotions, right? To go to the shop and feel, oh my, somebody's doing something to manipulate me. I don't want you to feel any negative emotions. I just want to help you see the truth as close as it is possible. And I just want to help you save your money so that you can buy products that you actually want to buy. When I can, I try to buy from the companies that give round prices. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen sometimes, especially in small shops. So I try to go to the small shops, local shops, to support, local sellers. And if I pay in cash, I always demand my change because the mechanism is just too horrible for me to just let it slide. But I also found one effective technique that actually allows me to see the truth. And that is that if I see the price, for example, 399.99, what I have to do is close my eyes and see in my mind the same price tag with numbers 400. I need to actually see the numbers, not think about them, but see the picture of the numbers. The brain likes pictures, and the brain likes simplicity. But the brain will not like it at first that we see in our heads higher number, because it shows the world that is more difficult and it pulls us out of routine, right? So the brain will try to protest a little, but then it will it will not have a choice. It will see this 400. And why are we doing that? We are not doing that to see that, okay, so the seller is trying to cheat us, or to he is a bad person, or we should get angry towards him and never buy the shop again. That's not what we want. We are fighting for our right to make self-aware decisions, to make conscious decisions. We want to understand that it's actually $400 without 1 cent. But we want to understand that. And then we can make a decision. Maybe this product is really worth it, right? Maybe we'll decide, okay, $400, it's okay, I can pay that. But at least we make a conscious choice. We make a choice. We are aware of what's going on. That's the only mechanism I found so far to deal with this problem. But of course, again, it takes a lot of time, right? Who will spend precious seconds seeing every price in the head, right, as a higher price, when you just left work, you need to collect your children, you need to go back home, you need to cook dinner, you need to do some work at home, you just want to buy milk, bread, and eggs, and you have one child in your bag, in your shopping bag, another child on your neck, and you just want to buy things as quickly as possible and come back home. You don't actually have time, right, to analyze every price and to close your eyes and spend precious 2 or 3 seconds just to see the numbers. But I would like to encourage you to try sometimes, when you have a moment, just see how your perspective changes. Just see if it works. And if you can, I strongly and warmly encourage you to choose the shops that give round prices simply because they are acting fairly. I would like to say one more thing before we finish today. This podcast is in no way meant to say that people who set prices at 99 are bad people or that they have bad intentions. Because to be honest, I'm not interested in that right now. I'm not interested in that at all. So I don't want to feel any negative emotions towards anybody because it's not worth it. It's like drinking poison. Let's leave the sellers with their decisions. Let's just show them that we know what they're doing. I'm talking about this technique simply because I don't want to put my own brick, to add my own brick to this world that is using natural brain mechanisms against us. I don't want to help build this world that is increasing the level of confusion and misunderstandings, because this mechanism, this is actually what it does. It increases the level of misunderstandings because it is worth making an effort. If we make an effort to try to, even sometimes, especially if we buy something expensive, right? Close our eyes and see the real price. If we remember that this price was very probably created on purpose to make illusion, to build an illusion that the product is actually cheaper, we may protect ourselves. We may sometimes not buy something, and in that way, we will save money and we will regain ownership over our money. This is what I mean by regaining ownership over our money and over our time, because if we are aware how much products really cost, if we buy fewer of them, we can actually work a bit less. And then we'll have a bit of time to, for example, answer a friend, send back an SMS or email we were trying to send back to our family member, call mom, or talk to a wife or a husband or children, sit down with children and play some game. These things are important. People are important. True connections are important. Love is important. Friendship is important. Having time for people we love and care about, finding time for them. This is one of the most important things. And prices ending at 99 are, of course, just one small pebble in this whole marketing mechanism. But this is one small pebble that helps take that time away from us because it makes us buy more also recklessly. And in effect, of course, we need to earn more, so we have to spend even more time working. So let's take back control over our own spending. Let's save money. Let's take control over our own time. And let's redirect this time to things which are actually important for us. If it's family, friends, hobbies, meditation, or any other form of enjoying the life. Thank you so much for listening. These were home and heart methods. If you are interested in hearing about more mechanisms, please let me know in a comment. If you have a specific mechanism you would like to understand, please also feel free to let me know, because I will gladly read more about it and look for understanding and explanation. I wish you a very good, peaceful day, full of free time. I hope that today you will be surrounded by the world where nobody tries to influence you to do anything at all, where you can just make your own choices and choose how you want to live. And see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.